So when you think back where you were heading versus where you now are heading, what's the difference?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's put it this way. The picture, so what is consistent about the picture is I can't even say enough how fortunate I am to have the close friends and family around me that, you know, people had sort of warned me when this all happened that like, oh, you better, you know, just FYI, sometimes it happens. People get uncomfortable. They don't know what to do. They kind of distance themselves if a couple's splitting up. And my experience was exactly the opposite, right? So people really just sort of put their arms around me, and you know, it became very tangible. I always felt lucky to have those relationships, but it really felt tangible, that support. And so that's part of the picture it's actually clearer than it was before, but it's there, right? And so that's sort of my foundation. You know, it made me evaluate sort of what goals I had around my career and sort of how important, you know, I was, and, you know, who am I kidding? I still am a workaholic, but intentionally making time for, you know, A, those relationships that, you know, of close friends and family, and then B, as I get into other relationships, and I'm in a romantic relationship now, making sure I make time for that in a way that is intentional, and it doesn't put sort of career above everything else, which at times was happening before.
Yeah,
I think the other big thing is it made me, you know, take the much procrastinated step from prior to that of really paying attention to my health. I'm somebody that, you know, my entire life, really for 30 years before this all happened, you know, I have a health condition that, you know, isn't super serious, but what it does is it makes it very easy to gain weight and very, very difficult to lose weight. And I, you know, literally had been, you know, twice my current size for 30 years. And so, and it's something that, you know, was always, you know, I almost had given up on because I had tried so many times in so many different ways and just really never made a dent in it. And, you know, this really forced me to look at, okay, you know, what does that long-term picture look like? And, you know, in my current trajectory of where I was really going, not where I, you know, had the idea I wanted to go, what would it look like if I didn't do anything differently? And, you know, there were some epiphany moments that we could certainly talk about, but it really forced me to say, like, you know, you only have one life. You only have, you know, your health is something that people take for granted unless something goes wrong, and, you know, realizing that it could very easily go wrong. And then what? Just really brought it home, and, you know, started working on, you know, diet, fitness, and in the space of, you know, 2.5 years, lost over 250 pounds.
I know. And I just want to kind of pipe in here. You are a different person. I mean, like, I can't get it, because
it's been a while since you've seen me. So
I knew Greta when all this was happening, and it's amazing to see her transform. And, you know, and when you were going through that, I know the circumstances that kind of were your light bulb for that were kind of random. You kind of, as I recall, ended up in the hospital over kind of a stupid thing that happened anyway.
I choked out a catheter, ended up in the bottom of my left lung. Ended up in the hospital. It
was a random thing, but it was kind of a wake up call for you. And it was like from that moment on, I know you were committed, and you were like, I'm doing this. And it was just amazing to watch. And, you know, with that, now that you're in this healthier body than you were before, what other areas of your life have been impacted by that?
I mean, it literally impacts, I don't always think about it, but it literally impacts every moment of every day. Like things that, you know, I travel a lot for work. I'm a management consultant, right? So pandemic aside, I travel a lot for work. Getting on an airplane, you know, is that whole process is totally different now. I don't have to pre-strategize about where I'm going to sit and, you know, who might be sitting next to me that might mind if I, you know, sort of encroach on their seat a little bit, right? I don't have to worry about, oh, my knees, you know, I'm 6 feet tall, and being 6 feet tall when I was larger, you know, my knees were in the back of the seat in front of me. And by the time I would land, they would hurt, right? But things like that. It's things like, you know, being able to, during the pandemic, you know, beginning to, you know, really spend more and more time outdoors and hiking, right? That was something I just would never have even thought about, because I wouldn't have been able to go very far before I'd be like, okay, I need to sit down, right? I mean, it's big things, little things, you know, health-wise, just in terms of, you know, I'm somebody, migraines run in my family on my mom's side since I was in my 20s. And, you know, I used to have a couple a month, every month. I think in the last 6 months, I've had 1, 2.
Wow.
And wow. You know, so it's everything.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, you get treated differently when you meet new people from a career perspective, when you meet new people from a romantic perspective or even friend perspective. People make assumptions on how you look, whether they want to or not. It's inherent in our culture. And so you if you're the person that, you know, is getting the looks or not, you notice that, you know?
Well, you know, exactly. You start noticing that people are paying attention, which can sometimes be a little unnerving when you're not used to it. So I know that.
Well, it's different attention, right? Like,
yes.
People were paying attention before. It's just different.
Yes. Yeah. So I know that the weight loss journey was not the only change you made for yourself. I know there was a period of time where you were trying to create more balance because everything was so much about work.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. So, I mean, let's put it this way. And, you know, I think there are days I'm more successful at this than others, but I would say, you know, by and large, I am much more successful about this than I was prior, which is, you know, really setting boundaries. And so, you know, I know, and I'm in a type of career where it's never going to be a 9-to-5 job. Like it hasn't been since I started, and it won't be as long as I'm in it. Like that's just not how it works. Which is okay. I you know, if I really needed a 9-to-5 job, I would be doing something else. However, that being said, it's also not 24/7, right? And so I think I've been very intentional about, you know, as I said, I'm a planner, making sure that if there are things that I want to make sure I have time for, and that could be sitting down to read a book, it could be, you know, being able to process my own thoughts by myself, right? Like it's not necessarily, okay, somebody wants me to go out to dinner, or, oh, somebody wants me to do something. Carving out that time and blocking it and making it, you know, on the calendar and making it not cancelable. And that has made a huge difference. So, I mean, and it's, you know, I think that there were times especially in my youth, where I assumed that, oh my gosh, if I say no to somebody who wants me to do something at work, that, you know, what's going to happen? And I think it came from a place of self-doubt, maybe, but, you know, I don't know if it's part of this process and being like, you know what, these things and this balance and sort of working fun and working, you know, actual hobbies into my life again matters. And so, you know, there are things that are not negotiable. And, you know, that's not if the world was ending, you know, I could move it by a day if I needed to, but I'm not going to delete it. I'm not going to cancel it.